Everyone, welcome to the Primo VE Become an Expert series. Our today topic is the network zone for consortia. Please leave your questions to the end. I will spare time for it. So by the end of this session, you will be able to meet and get to know the major differences between Primo and Primo VE network zone functionality. And hopefully you will be able to transfer all of the network functionality from Primo to Primo VE. So these are the main principles and differences between Primo and Primo VE. We will go through one by one and see some examples. The first difference is the central index. Primo VE builds a central index with the entire consortium data, which includes records managed in the network zone and records managed in each member institution. The central index allows institutions to search the entire network data and to see the availability statuses. For example, if I'm institution A, I can search on institution B and on institution C inventory as well. Next difference is the normalization. In Primo, a consortium publishes full network data in one pipe using a unified normalization rule file that includes requirements from all institutions. In Primo VE, this coordination, renormalization of the data, and reindexing is not required. Changes are applied immediately in most cases. In Primo VE display field normalization, every institution can define its own display field normalization rules with no relation with other institutions. The changes at the institution level affect only that institution. For example, a record from institution A that appears in institution B discovery will be affected by institution B normalization rule. The user experience of institution B will remain the same for records from institution B and from records from other institutions. In the local search and facets field normalization, if you are using bibliographic field mapping method, every institution can create these fields independently, the same way as display field. If you are using the normalization rules mapping method, you need to coordinate with other institutions. Next one is the view it from other institution, other campuses service. Unlike Primo, Primo VE allows institutions to display view it services for Alma electronic and digital records from other member institutions on the full display page. Let's see how it looks like. Here below on the view it section, you can see the full display page and the online services from other institution link. When I click it, I see here a list of institutions and online resources belonging to other institutions. The information in the View It is informative only. It does not contain any links to the online resources. Next in line is dedicated facets for the consortia. Primo VE automatically creates facets that are related to consortia, such as institution facet and library facet. Let's see how it looks like. This is the discovery page. Here on the right, you can see library facet. Below here, you can see libraries of other institutions. And in the institution facet, you can filter by other institution. Next in line is the central management and configuration difference. Primo VE allows a consortium to manage several elements centrally using the network zone institution and to distribute them to member institutions. The central package, which is managed in a network zone, provides standard look and feel that member institution can use either as is without further customizations, or as a template to make modifications specific to their institution. In addition, the network zone can configure local fields, resource type, code and mapping tables to share with member institutions. For example, a consortia that is using red and blue theme, each member can inherit the theme colors and add their own specific customization. This is a view configuration in Primo VE. Under the Manage Customization tab, you can see the option to apply the Network Central customization package and to inherit it. Last one is a union view. Primo VE has a built-in union view. This view is set up and maintained in the network zone institution. It is not associated with any member institution. Typically, this is done when a consortium wants a central view that is associated with a consortium network zone institution. This view is neutral and it will display all holdings as other institution holdings. It will offer viewed services only for materials that are available for all in the network zone. When a user will try to do a sign in, they will be prompted to sign in to a specific institution. This will allow them to access the view it and the get it services for the specific institution. Now we saw the main principles and the differences between Primo and Primo VE. The question is how we effectively do the change and transfer all the network functionality from Primo to Primo VE. So like every migration process, we want to start with preparation to see what exactly is needed to be transferred. So the first step is to determine the configuration needed at the consortia level and then the configuration needed at the institution level. So the first step is to determine the configuration at the consortia level. In most cases, there is one unified normalization rule. You should analyze this normalization rule and define local fields. You need to determine which local fields are relevant to all institutions and which are relevant to specific institutions. Display field, you should check to see if the out-of-the-box display fields were modified in the normalization rules. And local resource type, you need to check if you have defined local resource type and if it's relevant to all institutions. Then you should check the central package. It exists in both in Primo and Primo VE. Note that the customization package are copied from Primo to Primo VE during the enablement process. Last thing to check is the union view. If you are currently using a central Primo view branded as the consortia office and your consortium has an ALMA network zone, this might be relevant for you. Okay, and the second step of the preparation is to check the configuration needed at the institution level. You should start with scopes. You can divide your scopes into the following groups: institutional records. These scopes include data that belongs to your institution only, meaning all the records that are cataloged in your institution are available for your institution, even if they are cataloged in the network zone. You need to determine the subset of every scope defined in Primo. Next group is the entire network records. These scopes contain the whole consortium data or a subset of the data from the entire network, such as, example, a scope that contains all the records in a network that have physical availability. Out of the box, the entire network scope is created in your view so that you have the ability to search in the full consortium data. The next one in the step number 2, the configuration needed to be reviewed, is the view's display functionality. These features were not available in Primo. The held by library facet, you can decide whether to include the physical inventories from your institution only or from all institutions. Library facet, you can decide whether to include other libraries from member institution in your library facet, or you want to display them in a separate facet. This is also possible. And you need to decide whether to display the institution facets. As for the get it and the view it from other institution, In addition to the get it from other institutions exist in Primo, Primo VE also allows you to display the electronic inventory from other institutions and other campuses. This is for display only, and the user can't access the full text. If this information is needed for your users, for example, if they can walk to another institution or another campus to access the full text, you can enable this functionality. Once we've done with the preparation, we can continue with the actual configuration change. You need to create local and display field in the network zone, create local resource type, create scopes, and to define view configuration settings. So the first step is to create local and display fields. You can create them centrally from the network zone. You need to use fields 51 to 100 only, and you have the option to distribute them. This is relevant for display field. Once I select on distribute, I have two options. If I choose do not override member institution customization, the local field is distributed only to member institutions that are not using the selected local field, or that I have already inherited it from the network zone and have not changed the customization for it. If I choose the second option, override member institution customization, when selected, the local field is distributed to all member institutions. It will override any customization made to a local field in the member institution. After we have determined which local resource type are needed by all, you may begin their configuration in Primo VE. For local resource type that are required by all institutions, we recommend that you create them in the Alma network zone and distribute these fields to all member institutions. For local resource type that are required by specific institutions, we recommend that you create them in the specific institution. These local resource type affect only institutional data that is created locally, not local records that are linked to the network zone record. And if a member institution decides to configure the same resource type, their customization will override the settings of the network zone. Step number 3 on the configuration part is to create scopes in the network zone. First, you need to start with selecting population. Here you can see it on the right side, scope population. If I choose my institution, it indicates that the custom scope include inventory from my institution only. This is a default functionality for non-collaborative networks. If I choose the entire network population, it indicates that the custom scope includes inventory from my institution and or other institutions in my network. After I selected the population, I need to specify the conditions. And of course, the conditions depends on the population. So the conditions for the my institution population are like single institution and are based on the inventory, local fields, and metadata. The conditions for the entire network populations are based on the following categories: entire network inventory, availability based on physical, digital, and electronic, and other institution inventory, other institution, external data source, sorry, libraries and locations, and metadata such as additional title or alternative title. This is how it looks like. On this example, we selected the entire network, and here I can see the two conditions that are relevant and depend in the population. The entire network inventory. On this example, we wanted to see all records from the entire network that have physical copies availability. The final step in the configuration is to define discovery network settings in the view. On the view configuration page, you need to define some settings that are specific to consortia. Let's see how it looks like. Here I'm on the discovery, configuration, configure view. This is how it looks like. I'm on the general tab. You can see up here, the general. And below we have the discovery network settings. Here I can decide if to include member institution in facets, display locations, library facets, and some more definitions that are relevant to consortia. Okay, and now let's go through some frequently asked questions and answers. And then we will have time for your questions. So basically, how do we start the GoVE process as a network, as a consortia? So first, you need to go to press the button on the network zone instance. And after the GoVE is activated in the network zone, the GoVE option will be made available on the member institutions. The next question is, can we use local fields that are used by other institutions in the network zone? So if a member institution of a consortium using a local field, the same local field should not be used by other member institutions unless they are using the same normalization rules or a Mark 21 Unimark field mapping method. Next question, how to create a local resource type for records that are available in my institution but are cataloged in the network zone? So the answer is simple. You should just create them centrally in the network zone. Okay, if you have any more additional questions about a network zone consortia in Primo VE, first you have the full documentation in our Knowledge Center, and of course you can access the GoVE for further questions.